Well, you can hear me, but I can't hear you. And throughout your entire live stream, there was no audio.
What about now?
Yes. What was it?
Well, I actually just switched to the microphone on the phone. So this was supposed to be sounding, but I don't know what's going on. You hear me loud
Okay,
now?
I can.
Oh, I think I hear you coming now from the car speakers. So there must be something connecting to the car, and that's
Uh,
why we couldn't hear anything. So, well, Joe, thank you for joining me, even though it was kind of crazy. The views were incredible.
yeah, you had a
Um,
great spot, right? It stopped right in front of you.
Yeah, right in front of us, it rolled out. I think it's one of those things that happens once very few times in your life, right? Having
Yeah.
how tall is this thing?
How tall is it? Oh, I think it's like 70 meter. No, I don't know if it's 70 meters tall. It's pretty tall.
It's a building
And
coming right ahead, right in front of you, right?
well,
It's
not only
like a
that,
big
but
building.
where it stopped right in front of you and you're like standing right next to the stand. I mean, it was just amazing. There is no other place in the world that you can see a rocket that is going to be launching that close.
Yeah, exactly. And so, based on what has happened these past 7 days, all the issues, the successes. I am particularly interested in knowing a little bit about the new. Everything that they have tested is basically new. It's a new ship. It's a new pad, like the new tower, the new arms, the new everything. Everything's new. So um, I'm actually a little bit surprised that even though there was a failure of sorts, I think everything went smooth, really, because when they finally did the wet dress rehearsal in one shot, they did everything.
Yeah, I mean it is very impressive. I mean, if you think back to Flight 11, everything that was used for Flight 11, from the ground support systems to the ship, the booster, the deluge, the mount, even the testing site itself is completely different than what they have right now. So they kind of left no stone unturned. And, normally you don't want to change all of that at once. You want to change a few things so that if something goes wrong, you can kind of isolate what did you do and you can fix that. But no, I mean, remarkably, it's been pretty smooth considering that it's still in a prototype stage, and that's something I think it's important to remind everybody that it's not operational yet. So it's not like an airline where on Wednesday at noon you're going to launch or something. But all of this stuff that we're seeing is very important to the team because they're learning a lot about how all of their systems work and how they work together. And we just saw a full stack. We saw the wet dress rehearsal. We saw the first D stack, and all of that was for the very first time. So it's not as fast as all of us would like, but it's all important because it's setting the groundwork for what's to come.
Yeah, and it's really exciting. We now have a ship. Is the ship going to masses or is it going to the production facility, really?
Well, I've heard two things. I've heard that it may go directly to Massey's, or it may go to the production site and then down to Massey's. The reason why everybody thinks and what I'm hearing is that it may need to go to Massey's is that after its static fire, at least one of the engines, maybe more, were swapped out. And if that's the case, then they're going to want to probably do an igniter test, maybe a few other tests, just to make sure that it's good to go. In the past, maybe flight 2, 3, 4, maybe SpaceX would have taken a little bit more risk and maybe not done that. But this is an extremely important flight. It's the debut of the V3 ship booster and all the supporting stuff, but it's also kind of the passing of the baton between truly prototype system and one that's meant to be operational. And there's a lot that's really riding on this flight, not just for SpaceX, because SpaceX, they need to start launching the bigger satellites, the Starlinks. They need to get ready for the AI data center. They have their own plans. They got to test out things like on-orbit refueling and prepare for the moon. NASA has got Starship as a central part of the Artemis program. So there is a lot riding on this particular flight.
Awesome. And the booster is coming out as well, right?
It will be, yeah. Both of them will be moving today. Go back to the production site, and we talked about the ship a little bit, what they have to do. They also have to load up the what we presume is going to be dummy Starlink, so that they can do another demonstration that the new ship can deploy payloads. So that's going to happen. The booster has some flight readiness things that they've got to do. The chines have some areas that they got to touch up. I think they're probably going to inspect more of it, just check the engines, check everything, make sure it's good to go. I don't know if the flight termination system is on it yet, but that will be something that they need to make sure is on both before we go to the launch.
That is unfortunately very important.
It is. It is. And hopefully we don't have a Flight 1 reenactment where we have supersonic somersaults.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. Um, I think I've seen 4 or 5 of the Starship attempts, and it never ceases to amaze me. It's just I have seen in person. Whatever you see on the video is not even, I want to say, an eighth of of how impressive
Yeah.
it is in person, especially the sound. I
Yes.
remember,
It's not just the sound, but you feel it.
yeah, you feel it from last time you and I watched it together from Port Isabel. I think it was like 4.5 miles out. And
Mm-hmm.
this one, I think this one is more powerful than version 2 rocket engines, no?
Yeah, not only are the
Motors.
engines more powerful, but the static fire was significantly more powerful. For a portion of the time, they were able to go to 100% thrust, which they were not able to do on the previous launch mount. The hold down clamps were not sufficient for doing that. And of course, the pad itself, the water deluge, and the systems weren't really designed to sustain that. So not only is it more powerful, but they were running at a higher power setting, and people that were around the area noticed it was significantly more. The audible and the feeling was a lot stronger than it was before. So when we to an actual launch, this is going to be, for even if you've seen one, this is going to be new because it's going to be much more powerful.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine what it's gonna be like, but
Yeah.
I don't think I have the creativity in my head to imagine
Yeah.
how loud it's going to be.
Well, I was thinking about it. We talked about everything is new, and in that respect, the launch itself, visually, both audibly and visually, is going to be different for a lot of different reasons. One is not only the power of the booster, but the water deluge system is very different and the flame diverter is very different. So visually, it's going to look significantly different than what we've seen before. You're going to have 2 primary plumes coming out rather than the 6 kind of going all over the place. As it lifts off, you're going to have the launch mount deluge system. So we're going to see sprays of water while it's lifting off, and how that's going to look, and the plumes of the steam is something I'm kind of curious what it's going to look like. So that will be exciting. And in fact, because it's so new and we're used to the old one, we may think something's wrong, even though everything is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I'm
But
trying
another
to
thing,
imagine it.
yeah, well, another thing, it's going to be on a different trajectory too. So we're used to pad 1 where it takes off and it almost goes directly east. Versus this one, pad 2 is clocked about 90 degrees. So it's going to go a little bit more southeast. And so it means it's going to be flying more away from South Padre Island, Port Isabel, probably Rocket Ranch, and the Raptor Roost area is probably the best place to see it, because you're going to see it kind of going off to the south, and you'll see like the side
Okay.
of the ship a lot more than you did before, where it was kind of flying away from you.
So that arc that is going to take it's not opposite of where we usually watch it from, or is it? It is, I think, right?
It's going to be a little bit more southeast rather than east from what we saw. So The direction, it's just going to go more towards Mexico rather than towards Florida.
Yeah.
And I think, it's a small angle, but I think it'll be enough for us to tell. And, assuming everything goes well and the booster comes back, it's most likely going to splash down in the Gulf, maybe about 20 kilometers off the shore. But it's also going to be coming from the southeast, which is a little bit different too. So the views of people seeing it kind of almost looking like it's going to come down to South Padre Island, kind of that trajectory, it's going to be a little bit different. So, and then the hot staging is going to be very different too, because the old ships had, or the old boosters had that hot staging ring that was jettisoned later on, and it was designed differently. This one, it's more of like an open lattice, so it's going to be more of a ring, and I think the shape of the exhaust coming out will look a little bit different too. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that's going to look. Actually, hopefully we'll have a clear sky and we can see it.
I hope so too. And I was thinking about that video that we did one time where you showed the work that you and the space engineer did
Yeah.
with the telemetry data, showing what the approach would look like instead of from the Indian Ocean perspective, from here using the same flight path expected to be used, right?
Well, what we were mostly looking at was the ship, and the ship this time is going to just splash down the Indian Ocean. So it'll be, from our perspective, very similar to what we saw before. It'll
Mm-hmm.
probably be, if everything goes well on flight 12 and maybe 13, maybe 14 is when we'll see that for the first time. And it'll be the ship coming from the west over South Padre Island, doing this kind of hook maneuver, and then doing the belly flop down towards the tower, which is going to be just nuts when we see that. But they are going to be they're going to be demoing that again in the Indian Ocean. If you look at the exclusion zones out in that part, it has a hook on it. So they're going to come in and they're going to recreate what we would see over Texas, over South Padre Island, and just verify that, and amongst other things, that the V3 ship performs the way they expect it to.
Okay. I have a comment here coming from YouTube, I think. They're saying that, and this is in reference to the beginning of our conversation, the Starship is 52.1 meters or 171 feet tall.
Okay.
I think that is the new height. And
Well,
I
yeah,
think
I think
they
it's
mentioned,
slightly. I think the full stack is about 1.3, 1.4 meters taller, so about
mm,
5 feet taller. And this is just one more of the stretches that will happen for the full stack. I honestly don't remember the difference between the two ships and the two boosters, but I know this one is taller. So technically, not only is this the most powerful rocket again, it's also
mhm,
the tallest rocket again. And they
that's
just keep
insane.
setting this. Yeah, they keep setting records.
But the funny thing is, correct me, right, if I'm wrong, because I know that SpaceX doesn't do anything just to break records. They have a plan, and in order to meet that plan, they figured out they need this amount of space. They calculate everything based on the future payloads, etc. Is that kind of what's driving the size of this ship?
Well, the overall size is driven by the rocket equation, and the rocket equation is something that talks about if you right now we're using a consumable chemical propulsion system, so that's where the rocket equation kind of works, and to our detriment because the vast majority of the mass is the fuel, and you
Right.
get into the tyranny of the rocket equation, which is you need more fuel to take more payload because it's
Hmm.
something on the order of 3-4%, if you're lucky, of the takeoff mass is the payload that you deliver. So, you want to deliver more payload, you got to make the rocket bigger. But if the rocket's bigger, then it has more mass, which means more fuel, which is heavier. So you get into this, the tyranny of the rocket equation kind of thing. But Starship is designed to try to take a minimum of 100, probably 150, eventually maybe 200 metric tons of payload to low Earth orbit. And to do that, you need to have an extremely large rocket. And one of the ways to approach the tyranny of the rocket equation is using staging. So in this case, you use a very large booster that takes you a certain distance, and then you discard the booster, and then now you have the ship, which is much less mass, and you can use the velocity that you've already got to try to continue to get into low Earth orbit. And of course, in this case, they want to try to reuse everything, so the booster is able to come back and be caught. And because of that, it only goes something, I don't know, like 60, 80, maybe 100 kilometers downrange, and then it turns around and comes back. I know some people have asked, well, can't they just launch the booster and land it in Florida so you can just transform it? And it doesn't have that. The booster does not have that capability. It's not really meant to do that. But yeah, everything is designed to get as much mass as possible to low Earth orbit. And that's where the orbital refueling comes in, is just like aerial refueling. If you have a lot of fighter aircraft, they can't go very far off the coast. So our Air Force wouldn't be very good if all we could do is go a few, 100 kilometers off the coast and have to come back because we run out of fuel. It's the same thing for, the Starship. Is it uses everything to get to low Earth orbit. But now if you want to do any real missions, like go to the moon, go to the Mars, do anything at higher orbits, do all kinds of stuff, you need to refill. And that orbital refilling is another way of addressing the tyranny of the rocket equation. I can hear you again.
Okay, we keep having technical difficulties.
Now it's Starbase. That's the normal operations down there.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. We're gonna have to do another round of testing for the next one. I'm monitoring the ship right now. It's going down the road, and the booster's still static here. But you can hear me again, right?
I can. Okay. I don't know if this is true or not. We'll have to see, but it may be that they have to move the ship first and then bring the SPMTs back so that they can move the booster. I don't know if they have enough SPMTs to do both at the same time.
I think it was last night. Yeah, I think yesterday, actually during the early afternoon, we're coming down the road around 2 o'clock, and suddenly there was like a slow traffic, and we ended up escorting one of the transporters. I think it's the same one that just carried the ship out.
Okay.
Kind of insane. I don't remember seeing a second one in there, so I think you may be right. Maybe they have to bring that one back and then to move the booster around, which is kind of surprising that they can use the same one for both. So they're making it sturdy enough for the heaviest load, and then they can carry anything on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure, because I wish I was there. I could walk around and take a look, but maybe they do have the SMTs and the booster transport already there. Because if not, then you have to bring the SPMTs and then you hook them up to the transport, and then you got to move it over for the booster. So I don't know.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm looking at the booster. There's a little bit of activity at the bottom of it. There's a guy with a crane moving things around. I think it just stopped. But I don't see. So they're gonna have to carry it with the capture arm still anyway to lift it, huh?
Yeah. Actually, I'm looking at another view, and it does look like the booster transport stand has been moved over to the launch mount. So I guess maybe they do have enough so they can do both. But they needed to get the ship out of the way so they could bring the booster down.
Yeah, and apparently from the views of the ship right now that I'm looking at NSF on my other screen.
You can just look outside.
I'm not sure if it's going straight to the like the closer facility, or if it's going to Masses. I think it turned already.
Well, the road does turn, so it's at the bend of the road. It's over by the old payload loading bay kind of area.
Yeah, it's probably heading there then.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was looking probably at the same I don't know why my camera is not focused. Every once in a while it does that, but
Hmm.
hmm. No, it is my camera, and I'm not sure why. Let's
I,
see if it
I
will.
see you well, but I'm tired, so maybe my blurry eyes are deceiving me.
Yeah. No, this has happened before, and I don't know if what's up with my camera, but every once in a while it focuses on the wrong thing. It's now focused really close, and so I'm a little bit. There he goes. That's better.
Oh, okay.
But but yeah, no, it's we're right now we're talking about the booster and the ship and everything. But for those that haven't been there or haven't been there in a while, they really need to get back to Starbase because, as we were saying, so much has changed, and not only the production facility, the factory is still changing. They're doing some more modifications to the wall next to Highway 4 so they can join it into the Gigabay. But the Gigabay is like a gigantic wall being put up, and it kind of blocks a lot of the view that we used to have.
Yeah.
And once what we see is under construction is finished, then they're going to start demolishing the other mega bays so they can extend the Gigabay even bigger, so double the size. So that has all changed. Massey's has changed. Rio West and all the housing has changed. Ad Astra, the school is changing, and of course the launch site is changing too. So if you haven't been down there, go down there. I still think we're in that golden time where you can get close to see stuff, but eventually that's going to go away.
Yeah, and I bumped into a place that I never seen before the other day as I was passing. It's really close to Ad Astra, the school. It
Yeah.
says Embassy to Mars, I think, or Mars Embassy coming
Yeah.
soon. Like, what is that about?
I'm not 100% sure. I can't wait to get down there to find out a little bit more, but Uh, I don't know. I'm not sure. I do know that over between the factory and closer to the factory, but between the factory and where you are, they're putting together a site that's going to be displaying, I think, booster 12 and ship 20, and it might also be displaying kind of the insides of booster 17. So it may, and I think that's going to be open to the public. So if that's the case, that'll be a neat thing to go see. But the Mars embassy, I don't know. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's some really interesting places popping up here and there.
Uh,
There's like the weird looking statues that are like by the side of the road, and the little
yeah.
structures that are popping up everywhere. I wonder if do you think we'll ever lose complete access to this area where I am right now, in front of the pads?
Me personally, just Joe Tegtmeyer, I think yes. And the reason why is that as Starship becomes more and more of a central part of our national space program, and also just because of what it's going to mean for space exploration, I think that eventually we will lose our public access there. And how that will happen, I don't know, but I think it's inevitable because it will become it's just too much of a vital, critical infrastructure part of our national space program to just let it stay open. I would love it to be stay open, but because I don't think it will, that's why I tell everybody if you haven't been, go as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah, but what do you think about the following? The fact that, because I heard that they're going to start shipping um, through the Gulf, there's a new vessel that they are going to use to transport the boosters to the
Mm-hmm.
Cape. So I'm guessing they're going to arrive on the west side of the peninsula in Florida, and then from there they're going to put them on trucks and transport them over to the Cape.
Yes, and it's basically I'm trying to remember the name. It was on the top of my head, and I forgot it. It'll come back to me. But it's they just recently showed it with a new cover. It almost looks like a Quonset tent kind of cover on it. And
Hmm.
I also think one of the drone ships that was used out at Florida for Falcon 9s is now being repurposed to support starships. And it's not necessarily to land starships; it's to transport more of them. So in the at least for the foreseeable future, they will be building ships and boosters at Starbase They will do something called a breakover, which is turn them onto its side and have them horizontal on shipping jigs, and they'll put them onto these transports, and then they will take them over to Port Canaveral, I think, through, or at least over to the turn basin over by the vehicle assembly building, and then offload it there. And then it will be, probably the Gigabay will need to be done first over at Florida, which is a little bit ahead of what you see at Starbase right now. But once they have that done, they have a destination. They can start bringing ships and boosters there. And they can do all that work and be able to launch it without having the Star Factory there finished, because the Star Factory at Starbase will be supplying that. And that kind of goes to what I was saying is people have asked, why don't they just fly the booster there? It's because the booster physically cannot make it there. The ship could. They could go to orbit and then just deorbit and land it at Kennedy, and that may be the ultimate plan. But I don't know. But yeah, that we're going to see a lot of shipping horizontal boosters and ships, which will be a first because we've never seen that before, shipping out to Florida.
Would they? Do you think they will eventually build them locally in Florida,
Yeah.
rather than having to ship them boosters and ships over?
Yeah, there's going to be a Star Factory built there. It'll be, I believe it'll be joining up next to the Gigabay out there, very similar to what we see at Starbase. And they're going to have to, because even though it seems like crazy talk right now for us, because we're used to, I mean, it's been what, 6-8 months since the last launch, and hopefully we'll get on a cadence once a month or so. But at some point, they're talking about 2 or 3 a day. And
Mm-hmm.
to do that, the only way you can do that is you have to have different sites geographically separated. So we know we have Florida, we have Starbase, maybe there'll be Vandenberg someday. There's some talk maybe they might do one in Louisiana, who knows? But eventually they're going to have more of them to be able to support that. And part of it is going back to, we were talking about the rocket equation, the tyranny of the rocket equation. When you get to low Earth orbit, you've expended pretty much all of your fuel just to get your payload, and now you need to have orbital refilling. The practical thing about that is, for every one ship that is used for a mission, say to go to the moon, go to Mars, to explore, whatever, you're going to need at least 10, maybe 15 tankers to get the fuel up to low Earth orbit, probably put it into a depot, and then be able to do the refilling. So for them to be able to do a lot of missions, they're going to have at least 10 times as many tankers flying. And to be able to support missions, you're going to have to be launching per site probably 2 to 3 tankers a day, just to be able to sustain all the operations that they're going to have to do. And if you think about the moon, we have the Artemis program. They want to do a lunar base, and they want to have a cadence that maybe every 6 months that they're resupplying or bringing new people there. So they're going to have that system, and that may be split between SpaceX and Blue Origin or somebody else, who knows. But SpaceX also wants to do a moon base, at least 1 or 2, so they can do production of satellites and solar panels. I think a drone just flew over you, by the way. It just went right over you. But maybe it was a bird, but it went right over your head. But if SpaceX is going to have multiple different bases, then they're also going to have to support that. And if they're going to be supporting that, then for every ship that goes to the moon, you have to have 10 tankers. So they're going to have to be building a lot. They're going to have to be launching a lot.
And those numbers that you just threw out there, is that based on data that you've seen, or is it speculation solely based on knowing the intent? Because it sounds to me like, so it's, first of all, that's crazy. A lot of flights, right?
I told you, it sounds like crazy talk.
Yeah, and so they will have, you think they'll have a depot up there just orbiting, and then connecting to it and dumping fuel on it, and then doing it over several times.
They're going
How
to
much
have to.
fuel? Like it really depends on the size. Is that based on like those animations that they put out a few years ago, where you can see like it's almost like a giant Starship, but it's a big belly, right, to hold the fuel.
Some of it is my own work.
Okay.
I've been looking at this. So I've been putting together a bunch of this stuff to maybe talk about. So it's that very same subject as, if you had orbital depots, you needed approximately, and I just used for rough estimate, 10 launches of tankers per, to do one ship, and how would you do that? And then thinking about the operations and the cadence at each of the launch sites, uh, it it just, the math starts getting wacky, but you start realizing the operations that are going to have to be undertaken to perform all the missions that they want to do. And it's unlike anything that we've ever seen before. An analogy I've used is it's kind of like, up until now, when we think about rocket launches, it's going to a small podunk grass lined runway out in the middle of the country that's launching a plane every week or two, to all of a sudden going to Chicago O'Hare. I mean, it's nutty when you think about the scale.
Yeah, that's great. So let's see what else do we have. I can see the ship is now close to the building now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so now we don't have to speculate. We know where it went.
Well, it's still rolling. It's right by the Star Factory. The question is will it make a right turn into basically the rocket garden or the production area, or is it going to continue on its path?
Oh, okay. I thought. Oh, it must be the angle that I thought he made it right already.
No, it's
It's on the
about, it
main
looks to
road.
me about midway through the Star Factory. It's just past the
Oh, okay.
curved
Yeah,
part of
yeah,
the
yeah.
Star
I see
Factory.
it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm.
That's crazy, man. What a beautiful ship, yo.
Well, it's not just beautiful, but you can look at it and you can see that it's significantly more mature than what
Mm-hmm.
came in the past. I mean, it looks very similar. The ship, the V3 ship and the V2 ships look very similar. If you're not really a geek like me, or the people that are watching, you may not notice the differences, but there are significant ones. The booster is the one that looks significantly different. I mean, you can definitely tell that it has changed, and it has changed a lot, both internally and externally. But you know, this flight is going to be, like we were talking about, how it's going to visually be different. It's going to be audibly different. It's going to feel a little bit different. Um, but it's not quite like the first flight, because the first flight we just didn't know at all. This time they have a lot of the data from the previous flights, but everything is new. So it's kind of a first of its kind, but with history now. So um, my level of confidence is, I think that it's going to go pretty well. At least I really hope so. It has to, but I really do think that they've been taking the time to prepare this, and they know the stakes, and they've really I think they've really got this one dialed in.
Yeah, I'm going to try to show an image that I captured um, of the ship on the booster. I don't know if our viewers can see that, but can you see what I just tried to share?
Yes.
So that is, hang on, let me see if I can make it. I think it's probably big enough. So that would be our, this is the one that just left.
Yeah.
So I took this photo, I think it was a couple of days ago, and it looks like I took this one from the beach
Hmm.
where we were camping at, Boca Chica Beach, also known as the Cyber Beach.
Yeah.
Why the? I don't know if it. When I zoom in, can you see the my zooming in on the ship?
I can. Yeah, you can see the booster, the grid fins. You can see that hot staging ring. It's now a permanent part of the booster, and you can see how the ship is sitting up on top of it. And you can also
This
see
part.
right inside, you can see it's the forward dome of the methane tank. It's just completely visible there, and they reinforced it with a few layers of more steel and a particular pattern, so that they can use what I believe is going to happen is that when they ignite the ship engines, they're going to do it in a sequence that's going to cause a differential push for the booster, so that it goes in the direction that they want it to go, and then the engines will start in that sequence for the ship to make sure it continues on its path. But they have a pretty neat particular pattern of the reinforcing steel on the top of that dome, and that dome is the top of the tank.
Okay. So in this, so it doesn't, or does it jettison?
No, it's a permanent part of the booster now.
Okay.
So
Okay.
with all previous flights except for ironically the first flight, the flight 2 through flight 11 was technically not a fully reusable vehicle, and I know there's a nuance on there, is that none of them were planned to be reused, so you can argue that around. But the reason why it was not fully reusable is that the hot staging ring, which was it was like a last minute addition to the design, had to be jettisoned so that you had the proper aerodynamics for the booster to come back and be caught. With this one, it's now a permanent part. So this is the first, well, other than IFT1. The reason why I say IFT1 is that it didn't have a hot staging ring, and it was going to use sort of it was going to basically try to do a momentum kind of turn and push the ship off. And theoretically, it was fully reusable. But I would say that this is truly the first fully reusable design for the Starship.
Okay. That's great. Um, Nothing new happening here by the gateway. The arms are steady.
Yeah.
There's people down there. There's a guy crawling on a crane, hanging by a hanging by a metal cable.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. You could see it really well when the ship passed you because it was so close. But I can see that on the NSF thing too. Is what they're showing is that even though this ship is got a really nice heat shield, they're still doing some tests with the heat shield, and that's in a variety of different forms. One of that is that they've got heat shield groups on the leeward side, the non-windward side, in different patterns on the ship itself, and also on some of the flaps. And I think what they're doing is that they're testing a variety of different kinds of glues and fastening methods. I think they're also checking to see how they respond to the ship expanding and contracting based on the cryogenics, and also with the heating coming back through. So there's a lot of tests on the leeward side. On the windward side, there's a lot of different type of tiles. I don't know if any of them are metallic, but there's some that are like a darker gray rather than black, and some of them are white. So they may be testing different formulations of the tiles, or maybe different thicknesses or whatever. And then maybe they wanted them different colors so it was easy for them to be able to see visually what was happening to them. But all of the test tiles now are towards the edges, which means that they're really trying to make sure that this ship will return through the atmosphere well. So all of the highest heat flux parts of the ship have got the good tiles completely on there. It's just at the edges where they're doing these tests. And if you recall, Flight 11, they had a whole bunch of tiles missing, quite a bit of them, and we talked about why. And it was kind of like battle damage assessment that they did back in World War II, and they wanted to see where were the actual critical parts of the ship. And it wasn't necessarily that if it burned through, that was a bad thing. They wanted to find out where it burned through and it still was able to perform. So I think that they got an incredible amount of data from Flight 11, and now they're just testing some other parts of the ship with different tiles based on that data.
So what about, I heard a rumor that they are covering more area with the heating tiles than before. Is that true?
I don't know if it's accurate. I think what maybe people are talking about is that they have a lot of test groupings of tiles on the leeward side. So those are new, but I think it's part of the test campaign. I don't think it's necessarily required for the operation of the ship. The biggest thing that is a big unknown, and I think maybe to SpaceX itself, is when we go to the catch. along the sides of the ship, they have some of that ablated. It looks like ablated material without the tiles, and that would be
Mm-hmm.
where the chopsticks would be grabbing the ship and kind of sliding up. The question is, will that survive a catch? I mean, obviously, you don't want to have too much damage that you have to keep doing repairs between catches, because the ultimately is you want to be able to catch it and just set it back down and use it again. So I don't know how that's going to survive, and we won't know on the catch until they try a catch, which might be flight 14.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think. Would you like to cover anything else for those people that are curious? We have a bunch of people on
Well, if
the
there's any
chat.
questions, I will try to answer questions. Hopefully this is
Yeah,
helpful.
let's see. I don't see many questions. At the beginning, there was a question about do they have enough SPMTs, but I think we spoke about that. Um, let's see. Starship's looking
By the way,
good.
the ship has moved past the parking garage towards the production site, so it is not going to Massey's right now.
Yeah. Does that mean they still have to send it to Massey's, probably, right?
I believe they do. We'll find out for sure, but there's a lot of chatter about at least one of the engines was replaced, and so they may elect to go try to do some testing with it at Massey's, or they may not. I don't know. They have now with what looks like the launch date is no earlier than the 19th. That's another week. So with 7 days, they have to be able to make sure that the ship is ready to go. If there's any testing, get that done. They need to get it back and load up the dummy Starlinks and have all that ready, and then bring the ship out. And the booster has to have all of its flight readiness stuff taken care of. And whether or not they are on there, they need to make sure that the termination system's there. Then they need to get them back out and do the full stack. While they're doing that, there's still some water deluge systems that may have had some damage that need repair. So I suspect that they need to make sure those repairs are done. We'll probably see some more water deluge tests on the pad. And if all that goes well and they have the full stack, then we can launch. And to do all that in 7 days is pretty, that's still a lot, but it's doable. And I see the question, has it been confirmed? SpaceX has not officially said anything, but all of the notices to mariners, some of the other airspace kind of, I don't know, information that's coming out is showing no earlier than the 19th now.
Yeah, because I saw a notification that there's like a warning for the Indian Ocean of it. I think they framed it very uh, scary. It's like dangerous something on the Indian Ocean warning. So
Yeah.
and the time frame is between the 19th and I think like the 27th, something like that.
26th, 27th, maybe, I don't know. Well, let me see if I can get that for you here real quick. See what the very latest is.
Yeah.
The
Those are
28th.
like NOTAMs, right?
These are notices to mariners. It's like a
Yeah.
NOTAM, notices to airmen or air missions, depending on, to me, it's notices to airmen. That's what it was my entire Air Force career. But it's basically a notification from the FAA or from the the sea controllers saying, hey, at this location from this time, you need to be clear because something's going to happen, or we don't want you in that area. And those are already starting to go out now with the no earlier than the 19th. And I think, the 15th is just, I mean, it's already the 12th. They would have to be bringing it back out in a day to get a full stack. So it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, as much as I want it, I'm being realistic. I don't think it's going to happen anytime sooner than the 19th, especially with those notifications being out already.
Yeah. Now I'm also, as a pilot, I always say never cancel on a forecast, never believe the forecast is absolutely true. But right now, the forecast for the 19th in the afternoon's currently looking pretty decent. So hopefully the weather will cooperate.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think there's some warnings for the next couple of days. It's going to be stormy weather, which puts me in a pickle because, as nice as it may look, we're roughing it a little bit. We're camping out here at the beach, and thankfully last night was kind of calm.
Hmm.
Um, but the other night we were like completely slammed by the bad
Mm.
weather. I think over there in your area, I think it was bad weather as well. But here was like nasty lightning, thunderstorms, just relentless rain. I think it was like 45-mile-per-hour winds. It was terrible. And as you can imagine, there's sand everywhere here in
Yeah.
my truck right now. So we're gonna try to see where we can hunker down because we're thinking of like moving from behind the pad towards the South Padre Island area. But if the stormy weather is gonna hit the entire coast, it's gonna get us there as well. So we don't know. It's just um, it's part of being here, I guess. You know.
It is. It's part of the fun of Starbase.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm leaning towards probably do staying around for the next few days. But man, another week just waiting for the
Yeah.
possibility of this thing happening, and we have other things that we need to do. So I'm hoping that I can shift some of the things that I need to work on to just do the remote stuff while I'm here. Probably find shelter if it's going to be really bad weather,
Mm.
because in the truck it's fine until there's a storm, right?
Right.
Um, we were supposed to try to go to Overland Expo in Arizona, but that's too far to go there and
Right.
come back. So we may hunker down here a little bit. And I know that there's a lot of people that are also planning on coming down, and we always love to hang out with the community. Um, both space community is incredible. We get to
Mm.
meet a lot of the cool people that are working on the rockets, and fans like us, and people like you that are experts in the in the field, which a lot of people know you, but a lot of people don't know that you're like basically an astronaut. You just didn't get picked,
Well,
but
I wanted to be one. That was my whole background, but I never actually made it.
right. But you have the knowledge and the experience as a fighter pilot. Have you done
Tanker
any?
pilot.
Yeah. Have you done any prototype aircraft testing?
Um, Not directly, but I did stuff called FCF, which is functional control flight. So I was certified to be able to take up aircraft that had heavy maintenance, and it was the first flight after that. So you want to make sure everything is working. So you never know what wires are not connected or what systems may not be working. So you go up on those types of flights.
Yeah. What about since we're basically wrapping up, and I'm just like picking your brain a little bit and knowing more. Although we have talked a lot at a personal level, I don't remember which aircraft is the one that you flew the most while you were in the Air Force.
KC-135, which is the refueling tanker, four engines, had a boom on the back. We also had things called MIPRs, which was the multi-point refueling system, which were like pods on the ends of the wings, and it would put a hose out, and we'd have drogues on them as well. It's kind of funny. I mean, my background with aerial refueling and tankers, I think, is helpful when you talk about SpaceX, Starship, and orbital refilling because some of the techniques and almost all of the operational part of that is very similar between tankers and air refueling and managing the fleet and trying to do the same thing with starships. But if you on ship 39, one of the new things is that they have the what they call probe and drogue, which is kind of the mating surfaces put onto the ship, and these are the passive ones. You'll have the active ones that'll be on the tankers or on the depot, and it's a way for them to come together so that they can do that fuel transfer. And
Hmm.
it's similar to what we would do with the drogue refueling in the aircraft, where we had like a basket and the refiller would come up with the probe and it would connect in and we were able to transfer the fuel. So similar in that regard. But in the Starship, they're using it primarily for the connection of the two ships so that then the disconnects can connect and then transfer the fuel.
And it's a transfer by pressure or because gravity, lack of. Um,
Yeah, it's going to be a combination of pressure, but also you're going to need to have some sort of slight acceleration. So you'll have a thruster or so moving it so that you can push the fuel in the direction that you need to be. Some people have asked, well, can you spin the Starships? The problem is if you spin it like this, then the fuel goes to the outside, which is not where the connections would be necessarily. So for you to be able to make it like acceleration, you'd have to spin it this way, and that's just not something that they're going to do.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a combination of a little bit of acceleration and using pressure, and having the tanker or the depot being at a higher pressure than the ship, then it would naturally go from the higher pressure to the lower pressure.
Okay, that's cool. Last question: did you ever fly a Hornet?
No, I was not in the Navy.
Okay. I'm dying to meet someone that have flown one because I've always been
But
intrigued
I
by
flew one of
that
those.
plane.
Can you see it up there?
Yep, a little bit. It's a little far.
I flew one of these.
Yeah. All right.
It's a T-38. Very similar to
T-38.
the F5s that Jared Isaacman is flying around now as the administrator. But yeah, so this was one of my planes.
Nice. Awesome. That is great. All right. Maybe we'll wrap it up here. We've been on for 1 hour and 8 minutes. That's pretty crazy.
See, it's always dangerous getting me to talk.
I know, but it's great to have you always, Joe. Maybe we do this again in one of the moves. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I'm gonna cover the booster moving as well. We're gonna make some plans here to see how we're gonna spend the next few days.
Okay.
Hopefully, we are able to stick around, and once you come down, if we're still here, we can get together and chat a little bit more about it. I know we're gonna talk offline anyway.
Right.
But like always, Joe, thank you for joining me here and providing so much valuable information for everyone.
No problem. I'm going to try to get down there. I'll be there about 2 days before whatever the launch date is. So right now I'm planning on getting there probably on the 17th or so, if the 19th holds. But in between, if you are there and if you want to cover other stuff, like if you want to camp out over by the production site and do one of these, and people want to ask questions about what's going on there, I can definitely try to help answer that as well, or anywhere else.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you so much, Joe. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Don't work too hard. Have a lot of fun.
I got to go do more yard work.
All right. Take care, Joe.
Take care.
Bye. All right, my friends, that's it for today. We are now going to close out the live stream. I hope you enjoyed the first few minutes of the live stream. Were purely the rocket coming out of the facility towards the bay. And now we're going to close it out. We're going to be hanging out here. I don't know if we're going to live stream the booster because I believe the booster has to come out as well. But anyway, don't forget, if you haven't, like and subscribe so you don't miss any other future videos. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.